and it just started recording now, actually. Please, as a reminder, just to mute yourself when you're not talking so we can reduce any feedback or background noise. We really encourage you to use the chat and the raise hand functions. This is a large group because we have commission members, but we also welcome members of the public, and so that is a really easy way to keep things flowing. And also, just as I said, members of the public are present and highly encouraged to participate through the chat function and of course through our work groups. Okay, next slide, please. And with that, we are going to jump right into roll call. So with that, I will turn it over to Kelly.
Thank you, Jessica. I apologize if there's some background noise. The vacuum is coming right by our offices this morning. I am looking at roll call. I'm just going off of the attendance sheet that I see on Google. And so I have marked everyone down that's here. And I just wanted to give the opportunity. We do have a new member on the commission, so I wanted to give Christina Pusch an opportunity to introduce herself, just so you guys know who she is and that she is one of our newest commission members. So Christina, if you are here, yes, please introduce yourself for us.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm Christina Pusch, Executive Director of the Maryland State Child Care Association and the co-chair of the Office of Child Care Advisory Council for the Maryland State Department of Education. And I am very excited and enthusiastic to be invited to participate as a commissioner. I represent over 5,000 child care and early childhood educators, and we relate closely to this trauma-informed care and hope to learn and to make a difference while participating. So thank you.
Great, thank you so much. And don't rest assured, I will get everyone who is here marked on attendance. I'm marking it myself as people are coming in and out of the meeting. And then I also have the attendance tracking sent to me after meetings. So do not worry, if you are here, you will be marked present. And I will turn it over back to Jessica.
Great, thanks, Kelly. Just a quick overview of the agenda for today. So we are just going to approve the minutes after we get through this, and then we have some work group report outs and updates. So I'm really excited for that. Just a quick overview of the March 31st report that I will provide. We'll go into lay out some next steps, and then of course close out. So at any time we welcome feedback and want this to be an interactive meeting. But this is sort of the structure we have laid before us. So with that, let's approve the minutes. Hopefully you all had a chance to review those minutes that were sent out in advance from our February meeting. And I will just need a motion to approve.
I motion to accept the minutes from the last meeting.
Thank you. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Did Kelly, were you able to capture both of those? Great.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks. Any discussion? All right, and so we'll do, I think the easiest way is, does anyone not approve the minutes or abstain? All right, hearing none, the minutes are approved. And so we will move on to work group report outs. We do know that the chairs have already provided written updates that have been sent out with your materials, but each work group chair, a co-chair will be providing a brief 5 to 10 minute update. And we do have a couple minutes for Q&A if anyone has thoughts or feedback for the groups. So with that, I will ask Kay and Margot if you would like to go first, providing an update on the metrics and assessment work group. Or am I supposed to go in a different order? I'm seeing the slides are different. Kelly and Christina, let me know if I am going off script.
Sorry, Jessica. I changed the order a little bit from what was originally prepared. The training work group has provided some slides, so I just put them first so that they can go through their slides, and then we'll go in the order on on the slides.
Okay, that works. So it's Amy and Janice for the training work group.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. So our training work group met. We have about 58 people who have joined the group, and about 34 showed up for our first meeting. So thank you. And we had a very dynamic 90 minutes. So I guess you'll move through the slides. You'll move through the slides with me. We began the meeting by doing an exercise of what do we think about when we hear the concept of trauma training. And so we were looking at the sort of the wealth of information that we had amongst us, and came up with this word cloud. And so we, these are some of the words that reflected what came up. And then we can move on to the next slide, looked at, oh, I'm sorry, I guess I didn't put the next one in. We looked at who we had in the room because we were looking at our total committee and thinking, okay, who's here and who are we missing? We also worked on clarifying what exactly is our role in terms of a training committee. And we realized that we need to actually we need to be broad and vast in looking at what's out there, what we dream about that could happen, and we need to have consistent communication with the other work groups. We realize that we need connection and collaboration with the Health Equity Commission and the Resilience Work Group, and we have reached out and we have already made a connection to bring them into our group. The next steps that we're going to do is we're going to do a vision for the training curriculum. We're looking at existing frameworks that might be helpful, and we want to understand what's already created so we're not pigeonholed. There's a number of different ways that we can think about trauma training, and we want to make sure that we are being comprehensive as we move forward and do this. So we can move on to the next slide. So what's happening next is that we have our next meeting scheduled for April 4th. We have invited a member of the Resilience Work Group to be part of the training work group. We've invited a member from the Health Equity Commission to speak at the work group in May. And we also are setting up subgroups. And we have a subgroup, Michelle Soloway and Patricia Cobb Richardson have volunteered to co-chair a visioning subgroup, and we'll be working on setting up this subgroup. We want to make sure that we are as comprehensive as possible in working this through. We have developed a Jamboard to be able to share ideas, and we're creating a Google Drive account to share resources. Is there any questions that anybody has?
I'd like to ask what the visioning subgroup is. I don't know that I'm familiar with that part.
Yeah, so the visioning subgroup is something that came up in the meeting. As we think about how do we make sure we're taking a really broad approach towards conceptualizing this. Is Michelle Soloway, or are you here? Do you want to talk?
Hi, yes, I am. Thanks. I had a little trouble getting into the meeting, but I'm here now, so I just kind of missed most of what was just said. But in terms of visioning, I just think that it's important for us to, at this stage, to really be thinking about what it is we really want to accomplish without getting bogged down into the specific details, and of course in the context of the legislation. So I'm not saying, not in the context of the legislation, because we do have to be accountable for that, but to really be able to think a little more broadly and from the heart space of what we would really
Mhm.
love to happen here.
Yeah, I
And
mean, I
so
guess
that
I was
it-
just thinking that was something we would be doing in the context of this group as a group, that would be naturally what would happen.
Mhm.
But I guess for me, it's like the whole point. So why would we have only a subgroup talk about it when it's really actually the key thing that we need to be able to embrace as a commission?
Mhm.
So maybe we need a facilitated dialogue at this level. But to me, it's not a subgroup. It's kind of what I'd hope we would be talking about here.
When you say here, do you mean in the training work group?
In
the bigger
Oh.
commission.
in the whole commission.
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah. So,
I mean, that's like Michelle and I have actually worked together on this whole, like, how do we create a 4-year, we went through a 4-year process for
Yeah.
the whole country on visioning. So we have a lot of experience, and yet it's the whole point, right? It's like the whole thing. So it just seems like the commission would take that on, and have a facilitated way to do that. Because there's probably a lot of agreement, like even doing like an engagement survey or
Mhm.
some kind of pre-survey of this group. If it's done right, Michelle knows what I'm talking about. So you've done it, you find out, oh, people are already aligned with these goals, principles, vision. And then it enables us to see one another quickly so that we can get about the business of doing the sub work, the nitty gritty work that has to be done with that. So I guess to me, it just seems like not something you split out, but something you bake
Right.
in to the whole thing, and that how we can use this group to call forth that, because it probably is already there, right? We sense it. And it definitely is
right.
Michelle said about the heart, like we are trying to create healing and wholeness and, a system that's relationship centered and compassionate, and because that's what, the opposite of trauma. So I don't know. I guess that just was why I was asking.
Well, thank you, Christina. Why don't I'd like to invite you to join us in our conversation about this, and we can think about how we can most efficiently and coherently address this. So maybe we can have an offline conversation with Michelle and you and me and Amy, and we can go from here.
And this may also be, I'll just interject there. I appreciate the dialogue. We have the definitions and core values work group as well. So that might be
Yeah.
another group to pull into that.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I mean. It's like
Conversation
kind of-
to help strategize.
Right. It's
And that's-
core.
That's one of the things we really began grappling with in our committee meeting, like specifically what's our role? What's our role specifically? Because it's also intertwined and intermingled, and none of us are working on an island. We've got to work together. That's why we began by pulling in the resilience work group and
Yeah, I just think that the core work of the commissioners is to be clear about the vision and the goals and not separate it out. And also, it's in the legislation. If you read it, there are things set forth that articulate vision and goals, and those should be called forward and maybe given life through the commissioners as well as through all the work groups. And so it'd be good to look at that and see if there's anything about that isn't enlivening and inspiring, or maybe it wasn't worded that way to create a more uplifting, enduring statement, because we don't want this work to be a flash in the pan. And then the mechanisms to do that, again, Michelle and I have worked closely together in the past. We have lots of ideas on how to easily get that kind of brilliance elicited so that it cannot be necessarily such a long process either.
right.
Great. I see a couple hands are raised. So Claudia, and then we'll go to Inga.
Yeah, I've attended a number of the meetings, and I think this is a struggle between each of the groups. I think, and separating out the vision, the core principles and definitions, and that's something that really has to go across all the different work groups, and, really is something that I think the whole commission needs to be looking at as well. So I'd agree with Christine on making sure that we have that for all the work groups to be working off of.
Thanks, Claudia, for that. Inga?
Yeah, thank you. I think one of the things that we ought to look into doing is to actually write committee charters to talk about what the definition of the committee is, what the goals are, the responsibilities and obligations. That way we are not duplicative in our efforts. I think that these charters, especially if these are going to be longstanding committees, which I think they will be. We could, the whole commission could look them over and provide input, or we could do it another way. We don't really have an executive committee or anything like that, but we could try it any way you want. But I really think we need committee charters.
Yeah, that would be so incredibly helpful, because I know we really struggle with defining specifically what's our mandate, and that we spent a lot of time in our first meeting trying to clarify that. So we're maximizing people's time and abilities. Yeah.
All right, I'm hearing that recommendation. Is that something that you think that the definitions and core values work group should